Welcome to How to Find More Direct Clients Than You Can Poke a Stick At podcast, a mix of both solo episodes and expert interviews. Our ideal listener is an early career, ambitious, and passionate online language services provider. She is committed to professional growth and achieving success in the fiercely competitive translation and interpreting industry. She balances multiple responsibilities with resourcefulness, values mentorship, is open to learning, and investing in her professional development journey. She embraces technology and seeks to optimize workflow, eager to connect with like-minded peers and build out her professional network. She is determined to overcome challenges and become a sought-after freelance translator. And here's your host, medical translator and translator business mentor, Jason Willis Lee.
Larry Easto has spent over 40 years delivering professional services as a lawyer, consultant, author, and coach. As a highly sensitive person with formal training in adult education, he blends deep awareness with a passion for helping others learn. Through his books and video courses, he empowers individuals to apply experiential learning to their own lives. Welcome to How to Find More Direct Clients, another episode. This is the podcast that makes digital marketing both easier and more enjoyable by blending smart business strategies together with just the right dose of tech. I'm your host, Jason Willis Lee, digital marketing enthusiast, and today I'm very excited to welcome my special guest. His name is Larry Easto, and he helps us self-employed professionals improve their businesses. Larry, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Good to be here. Good to be here. Should I say gracias?
De nada, yeah, de nada. That's no hay de qué, de nada. Both of those expression means you're welcome. Larry, just as an icebreaker, can you start a little bit about your own business journey and your unique vision for your own industry? What are you up to now, and where have you come from?
Wow, that's a big question. Okay, I'm at the happy stage right now that I'm working on my legacy project, which means looking back at what I've learned and picking up some of the lessons and hopefully delivering them in a manner that other people can benefit from them. And that being the case, it's fairly easy to do an overview of the things I've done and some of the things I've learned. First thing that becomes obvious is I've made a lot of decisions by default. I really didn't know what I wanted to do, so I tried a bunch of things, and some of them worked out and some of them didn't. But there are two consistent elements through everything I've done. One is I've been a consistent translator, and this isn't translating from one language to another. It's translating professional jargon into useful, user-friendly kinds of words. And this definitely started when I was a lawyer, when I had to translate legalese into practical terms for ordinary people. One fun story there, I had to do a will one time, and we were charging X number of dollars per page. And normal wills are $3, and a man came in and wanted a will, and I said, it's going to be X number of dollars. And he said, oh, I don't want that. Can you do it cheaper? And I said, yeah, I can do a one-pager for you. So I did a will, took out all the legal jargon, took out all the legal puffery, did a one-page document for him, his will, and he said, what's this? And I said, it's your will. And he says, that's not a will. There's no legal talk in there. So he wanted a will with all of the legal talk. So I backed off and I gave him a 5-page will, and he was delighted with it. He paid 5 times more than what he had to, but he was delighted with the legal puffery. So people kind of like that sometimes, but most of us don't like not being understood. So what I tried to do, whether lawyer, consultant, whatever, is translate the intent of the legal jargon into a practical format so people could use it. And that's what I've done all the way along. And I realized, I guess a few years ago, I started to focus on helping professionals with their marketing. Mm-hmm. That part of what we do as professionals to attract business is, I'll back up a little bit. There's so many people telling us what we should do that it's hard for us to know what's right for us. So I thought, wait a minute, personal relationships are important in professional relationships. We don't have standardized packages. We don't have one-size-fits-all solutions. So we have to get along with our clients as people as well as professionals. So then I started talking in terms of authentic marketing. Instead of selling yourself as a product of what people think you should be, start to showcase your best qualities, start to leverage what you're really good at, and start to attract clients the way you attract friends. Maintain clients, help clients the way you work with friends and support relationships and support each other. And so that's how it's evolved away from a technical business speak, marketing school speak, and all that kind of thing into serving and attracting clients the same way we connect with and maintain relationships with friends. And that's that for me has been a real relief because I never really wanted to run a business. I never really wanted to market my services. I wanted to help people. I want to use my skills to help people. So once I broke away from the professional jargon, it became so much easier to really identify ideal clients, help them identify their problems, and then help them come up with solutions for their problems. So that's a weird story, weird, unconvoluted story, but that's kind of a summary of it.
I like the way you talk about translating because our audience are actually freelance translators, online language service providers. I'm a French and Spanish to English translator. But drawing on your experience as a lawyer and as a consultant and a coach, why do you think conventional marketing strategies or cookie cutter one size fits all strategies fail or fall short for service professionals? And how do you approach this marketing that prioritizes comfort and efficacy? How do you attract business? Is it through this friends analogy you've just described? Is
That's
it
part of it. Yeah,
yeah,
that's part of it. I think the history of marketing, marketing was my understanding is marketing was first developed by was early in early years there was farmers in Wisconsin wanted to sell more cheese. So somebody came up with the idea of promoting it and advertising and all that kind of thing. And from there, it moved into business schools and moved into formal situations, and it evolved to the point that people got competent at it, and they took the position that if you do what I'll do, if you do what I do exactly the way I do it, you too will be successful. Well, it sounds good, but there's no such thing as a one size fits all solution. Networking, for example, is the be all and the end all. You got to network. Well, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I'm an introvert. I don't like it. I don't enjoy that kind of thing, but I recognize I have to do it.
hmm
So when I reframed it as I'm not pushing myself, I'm not networking for the purpose of generating business. I'm networking to meet other people so I can meet other people, build relationships with them, and go from there. So when we leave the standard one size fits all solution model, to me there are really four basic ways for service professionals, for people like you, me, and the audience to generate new business. The first one is referrals. I mean, referrals are obviously number one in terms of generating new business.
Sure.
And in terms of translation, a couple of months ago, I was at a gathering, and there was one of the other members knew that I'm a writer, and he had some with him, a young person I didn't recognize, and he introduced me to this individual, and says, "Larry, you're a writer," and I said, "Yeah," and he said, "Well, my friend Omar here is also a writer." Well, it turned out that Omar was from Turkey. He was a writer in Turkey, and he wanted to get his book published in English, and he wanted somebody to translate it into English. So my friend was introducing Omar to me. So that's a referral. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Person to person referral. There was no marketing involved in that. It was just Danny trying to help his friend Omar. So I said, sure, I think maybe I can help you. So I contacted a friend of mine who was Turkish, is Turkish, and he was very active in translating for the citizenship applications and hearings involved for new Canadians from Turkey.
hmm
I wanted my friend to help him, with the translation. So there's the networking thing. I used my contact, tried to use my contact to make the connection. Would have been a client for my friend and a translator for the young writer. And another incident just happened yesterday. I had a computer issue, and in the computer store, I was talking to the computer technician. We were talking about my new book, and just chatting away about it. And he says, "Do you have a PDF?" And I said, "Yeah, I've got a PDF." And he said, "Well, can I translate it into Farsi for you?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" So that's talking to strangers. So that's First of all, referrals, secondly, networking, talking to strangers.
Mhm.
Those are the three biggies.
What's
And the
your book
fourth
titled?
one,
What's your book called? Can we get the title?
how to succeed in your professional service business.
Great. That's very topical. We'll get a link out to that
And
in our
just
audience.
while I'm on that,
Yeah,
the conversation yesterday just planted a seed. Hey, maybe it was meant to be that he raised the question yesterday, and today I'm talking to a bunch of translators. So I'm going to put it
absolutely.
out there. If anybody wants to work with me in translating my book into another language, get in touch and let's see where we can go.
Oh, this is
So
yeah, this is very topical. This is incredible. Okay, so you've been a lawyer, you've been a consultant and a coach. How do you empower your clients to really take ownership of their decisions and really get some successful outcomes? What's your kind of methodology? How do you specifically when you're coaching a customer, a service provider, I'm guessing you're working with service providers from what you've said so far. How do you ensure a successful outcome for your coaching clients?
I draw on my experience as a facilitator, and I try to talk only 20% of the time and let the client talk 80% of the time,
Hmm.
which means that I spend a lot of time listening and listening to what they're saying and body language and all those kinds of things. So instead of me preaching and directing and instructing, I ask questions like, well, what's the ideal outcome look like for you? What will make you happy? Where do you want to be? And quite often they will say, well, I don't know, what should I do? And, well, it's not my issue, it's yours. How do we address your issue? And many clients want somebody to tell them what to do, and that's fine. If that works, fine. I'm just not the guy for them. If somebody wants to be empowered, I can do it. But if somebody wants an instructor or a director, I'm just not the guy because that's not in my skill set. I have enough trouble running my own life. I don't want to run other people's lives. So it's just a case of really listening carefully to what they're saying.
Yeah,
And there's the words, but there's also the body language. Like what, 80-90% of our communication is in body language. And if somebody's busy, if I am busy or if a professional is busy talking, they're not watching the other person. They're not listening. They're expounding, they're pontificating, they aren't I grand rather than really paying attention. So it's listening, and then listening again, and checking to make sure you're on track. Very early in my career as a lawyer, I had a client came in. I mean, he was all upset he was upset with an issue with his neighbor. And so I listened to him for a couple of minutes. I got the story, and as a young lawyer, I had the answer immediately. He finished talking, and I said, I know exactly what you want. And he said, oh, what? And so I summarized what he had told me, and then I told him what he wanted. And he says to me, well, you got the facts right, but that ain't what I want. And in exasperation, I think, oh, who is this guy? I mean, So I said, so what do you want? And he told me what he wanted. What he wanted was an apology. And here
mm,
I was with a high-end legal solution, and all the man wanted was an apology from the neighbor.
right.
And had I listened closely up front, I could have picked that up. And I find that so often that as advisors, as experts, as authorities, whatever, we are so anxious to show our expertise
Yeah.
that we don't listen to the entire story. And unfortunately, not everybody is a good storyteller. Some people don't get around to the point for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. They have to go through a lot of warm up for whatever reason. So that's why it's really important to listen as carefully as possible. And if there's any question whatsoever, ask to have it clarified. And by that, once people start to hear their own answers, they start to see their own solutions. Or I can build into that something along the lines of you said this, how would it work if? So just start to offer solutions rather, and instead of do this, say, what do you think about this? Or how would this work for you? So it involves listening to them and helping clients with their self-awareness. What am I really good at? How can I leverage my strengths? How
What
can
what
I how can
specific
I
law area did you practice, Larry? Was it last wills and was it inheritance law, last wills and testaments?
mostly small business,
Okay. Right.
mostly small business, some real estate, but primarily small business. I didn't do any court work. And what I enjoyed about that was helping entrepreneurs with visions. They'd come in and say, I want to do this. And it was up to me to figure out how they could do it with minimal risk to themselves, and certainly complying with all the laws. So it was, although I wasn't qualified to do the visionary kinds of things, that's what I did. Yeah, that's what I did. The same thing. Where do you want to be? What do you want to do? And then as a lawyer, I'd have to figure, okay, so what are the risks here? If he does this, what's going to happen? If he does that, what's going to happen? What laws apply? What legislation's in effect? What other requirements do we have to deal with? So it's up to me to minimize the risk and maximize the opportunities.
Do you think there's a lot of overkill in professional services? I mean, you described the situation of your client wanting an apology. That was very simple. Do you think we over-egg our services sometimes and just go for this overkill and give the clients more than they're looking for? In that case, you gave a very simple,
Yeah,
just an apology. You could have just mediated that, very quickly with
yeah.
the neighbor, and that was simply
I think I
solved.
think that's I think that's true.
Hmm.
It's a good question. I think that's true. One of the reasons I became an entrepreneur is because I worked for two law firms that the primary consideration was to generate as much fee revenue as possible.
Hmm.
And I had the good fortune of being trained in a firm that the client always comes first. It's all about client. It's all about clients.
Right.
And I started my own law practice not because I wanted to be independent, not because I wanted to have my name on the door, but I wanted to have the opportunity of providing services to clients that I thought they needed and deserved. And if they needed $100 solution, I would deliver $100 solution. If they needed a $10,000 solution, I would do that. But if they needed a $100 solution, I didn't want to charge them $500 for it because it just wasn't right. So yeah, a lot of overkill, especially in tangible areas where clients really can't measure what goes into a service. Yeah, so it's a case of switching to the values delivered instead of talking about, this legal service, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the service, this problem will be addressed, or at the end of by the time we finish this process, you will be da 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 da, because it's your decision, and I can help you with the planning and the process and getting there.
How can service professionals refine their services to add maximum value to their clients in the age of AI? And then can you link that to a healthy work-life balance whilst continuously evolving their skill set? So now it's obviously AI. Yeah, how has AI changed your work life? How can we as service providers just continuously update our skill set as I'm trying to do and add new skills and stay relevant and competitive? I'll be 50 in a few months' time, just to give you an idea. So
Next
entering
year.
the sixth decade. So I've still got runway, 15,
Yeah.
10, 5, 10, 15 years, hopefully ahead of me. Um, how do you see that question? How can we add value, a human value in the age of AI, I guess is the question, the big
Okay,
picture
first
question.
in terms of AI, I love it. For me, it helps me with the elements of writing I'm not so good at. Like
Hmm.
this morning, I wrote a LinkedIn article, and I knew what it was about, and I had a very short, punchy headline. It was about letting go, and the title was "Letting Go, Moving On." I used AI to come up with a better headline. What is AI? A beginner's guide. So I could never have done that on my own.
Yeah.
So I love it. Having said that, I I reserve the creativity, the new ideas to myself. And if I'm writing a new concept, I start with my idea and then move from there rather than research it. And that seems to be working. I think in terms of upgrading skills, there's really two things. One is to listen to the market, keep an eye on the market, what's happening out there. And the second is to really involve your clients. Periodically spend some time with clients saying, what's happening in your world? How can I help you? How can I grow to help you grow? Those kinds of things. Ideal clients are more than just sources of money. They can be strategic partners. They can give some really good advice in terms of what they need or what they don't need. Not by way of criticism or an anonymous fast survey, but just to, periodically talk about way things are done. I would do this when I was practicing. I was in a small town, and periodically I would go and hang out in pubs just to talk to some folks.
Hmm.
and find out what they liked and didn't like. And it wasn't it wasn't a formal marketing research project. It was just listening to the market, just talking to the farmers, talking
Right.
to the people who are there to hear what their concerns were, so that I can anticipate what they might be coming in for. A number of years ago, early when it met practice, interest rates went just absolutely wild. And as the interest rates go up, I'm thinking, wow, we're going to have a lot of foreclosures. We're going to have a lot of debt collection, all that kind of stuff. So I made a point to learn more about protecting debtors and more about debtors' rights, so that wasn't stacked in favor of the creditor. And at the time, I was area director for legal aid, which meant that I was responsible. I was the administration person for getting legal assistance to people who didn't have the resources. And there were a lot of family farms that were in jeopardized. And I arranged with another lawyer that I would issue the certificate and he would go and protect these people against the banks. And that's because he and I had both anticipated what was coming, because we were listening to what our problems our clients were having. So it really is, it's again, it goes back to listening. I think a lot of us, a lot of professionals still haven't left the guru on the mountain status. That we're on the mountain waiting for people to come to us to give them advice. Whereas, we're getting our hands dirty too. We got to be out there in the marketplace, taking the bruises, taking the lumps, and finding what's going on. So it's constant, it's continuous awareness. Keeping in touch is really important as well. That's not only is it a great tool for getting business. Keeping in touch just means periodically sending a newsletter or having a lunch or something like that. It helps former clients remember the work you did for them and positions them to refer you to others and make, come back for more business. But also it helps you keep an eye on the market. It's just so important to monitor what's happening in the market. We can't stay on the mountaintop. We have to get out and listen.
Do you think the client relationships are at risk because of the advent of AI? Do you think the advances in AI mean we're less likely to listen to clients and go out and into the pub, as you said, and chat to the farmers and those kind of things? Is there a
I
risk of that
think
happening?
I yeah I think for people who are not I think for individuals or professionals who are not people, yeah, it's a problem. But man, I need to talk to people after spending as much time as I have behind a computer. I've got to get out and talk to folks. Like yesterday with the technician I was talking to, um, it was just such a joy to talk to a live person.
Right.
And so that's important for me. And if it's important for me, it's important for him. He said, "Hey, if you're in the neighborhood, drop by." He didn't say, he wasn't saying come back for more work, come back for more business. He said, "Come on in and chat." So I think our clients need it as well as we do. Yeah, like attacks like, and like attracts like. And
Hmm.
and if we need people to talk to as opposed to dealing with AI all the time, so do clients, so do colleagues, so do our network contacts. So
Let's
again,
go.
keeping in
Let's
touch.
go into a few quick fire questions. It's just kind of one answer, the first thing that comes into your mind. What's the biggest myth that people believe when it comes to your sector? What you're doing now? What is a myth that you come into contact with that you kind of have to kind of bust the myth and say, well, actually, it's not like that.
If you work hard enough, you'll be successful.
That's a good one. That's a
The
good.
key is not working hard, is working smart.
Right. Work smarter, not harder. What's the best business advice you've ever received yourself, or maybe given someone else, given a mentee?
This is not new advice. Know thyself and to thine own self be true. Know who you are and build on your strengths.
What's the best investment you've ever made, Larry, in your working life?
Um, a university course in adult education. And it taught me how to learn from experience. We've heard that experience is the best teacher, but nobody teaches us how to learn from it.
Mm.
And so this course taught me how to learn from experience. So that allowed me to totally change the way I serve clients, to really focus on their experience and ask them questions that help them learn from their experience.
What are you reading right now, or what was the last book you completed, if you haven't got one on the go?
Book called Slow Productivity. Fascinating book. And it didn't really apply to me, but it was interesting. Slow productivity. Most workers today are knowledge workers, and it's hard to measure the productivity of knowledge workers. And some research has indicated that it's not working fast, it's not volume, it's taking the time to, I don't want to say do it right, but taking the time to do it right. And in my case, I when I get overwhelmed or something, I have to turn down, I have to have some meditation time, I have to have some quiet time. And that's what they talk about in slow productivity is taking time to be yourself, taking time to be, taking time for the universe to kick in and help.
In just one word, Larry, how would you describe AI? Just one word. What's the first word that comes into your mind when I say AI?
Mm, mm, mm. One word. Um, intriguing, intriguing.
That's a good
Um,
one. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Any have you written other books? I mean, have you authored other books before the one that you mentioned?
yeah, yeah, this is number 31 actually. Um,
Wow,
the
that's a
first
lot of books.
the first or book equivalent. The first one was how to succeed in your home business. And this was when large organizations were flattening, and there were a lot of people leaving large organizations, great skills, but didn't know anything about running a business. So I wrote a book called How to Succeed in Your Home Business, Beating the Biggies with Better Quality. And it was all about delivering the quality without getting hung up in corporate agendas and all those kinds of things. And then and that went on to be interesting enough, went on to be a bestseller in 6 languages. Um, and after that, there was a whole slew of marketing books. And only recently, the current book is interesting. It started out as an improving your life book, and then it kind of morphed into I added some marketing things, and then it became two books. And then I don't want to publish and promote two books, so I split it into one book.
Mm.
And then, oh, they got to do a video course with this. So I'm just finishing a video course to go with it. So, and that's kind of fun because what I tried to do there was combine the personal motivation kinds of factors that you and I as sole practitioners have with some of the conventional marketing practices. Conventional to me being law of attraction and networking and referrals and all that kind of thing. So it basically try to leverage our own best stuff to attract clients the way we deal with friends. And that was fun to do.
You've sparked one more question. Let's make this the final question. Could you talk a little to the positive and negative reasons why corporate refugees leave corporate life to go into their own business, to become self-employed, to become entrepreneurs? I'm guessing that there are both reasons for and reasons against. Positive. Everyone wants to be their own boss, but entrepreneurship is hard, right? Business is hard. If it were
Yes.
easy, everyone would be running their own business, but they're not. So, what are in your experience, in your career, and you've got a long career behind you, what are the main reasons that people become corporate refugees and desert employee life to build their own home business?
I think it's um probably a sense of purpose or meaningfulness.
Hmm.
They don't get, now it's interesting, some people don't get what they want in a corporate environment, so they leave in order to do do work that is more meaningful to them.
Yep.
One of my daughters has a new job in a large corporation here in Ontario, and she's so excited about it. And she was talking about it the other day, and I'm thinking, that sounds great, but how does that relate to the overall purpose of the company? The overall purpose is A and B, and what she's doing is totally oiling the machine. And I just don't know how it advances the well-being of her employer. But it's making her feel really good and purposeful and meaningful. So she's going to stay there like forever, or as long, whatever. But she's getting a sense of purpose out of doing her job, which to me has no strategic value whatsoever. Different
Larry,
strokes.
final takeaway, final message for our audience based on everything we've thought about. One final notable nugget from what we've discussed.
Ah, ah. Oh wow, that's a toughie. I'd keep smiling. Life is tough, but hey, it's good. The best is yet to come.
I like that. The
I
best is
really do believe that.
the best is yet to come. That's a good one. That's a good takeaway. Larry, where can my listeners connect with you to find out more about your work? Which platform is the best thing to do?
LinkedIn is the best social media platform, and I've got several hundred articles there, and I usually post 3 times a week. And my own website, LarryEasto.com. There's all sorts of information on there. Instead of an information dump, I've set it up as more of a flow chart that if you want this, go here. If you want this, go here. If you want this, go here. And right at the bottom, there's a thank you gift for people who've listened to this conversation. Download a book called 26 Ways for Service Professionals to Get New Business. And it's a free book. Don't need no email address. Just grab it and run with it and attract more clients.
Great. Well, we'll get links to all those things in the show notes. All right. Thank you. Let's wrap it up for today's episode of How to Find More Direct Clients. Stay tuned for more engaging discussions on the ever-evolving landscape of digital marketing and language. Until next time, stay on your game and don't forget to future-proof your career in the AI era. Bye for me, and thank you again to Larry Easto, my special guest today.
Thank you.
Here's a fun fact about Jason. Jason is a big Indiana Jones fan. Thanks for tuning in to the How to Find More Direct Clients Than You Can Poke a Stick At podcast. We'll be back soon. In the meantime, why not head over to www.entrepreneurialtranslator.com to access all our tools and resources to monetize and future-proof your freelance translation business. And don't forget to hit the plus button in Apple Podcasts or iTunes, or subscribe in Spotify to be notified when new episodes drop. For regular tips and insights, business strategy, or marketing techniques straight to your inbox, please sign up at www.entrepreneurialtranslator.com.